Doing well, guys. How are you?
So with Seattle on the way and Clint Kubiak's offense, we saw quite a bit here last year. Of course, the kind of wide zone approach to rushing. How does that put stress on opposing defense?
Anytime they are trying to get the ball to the edge, that's where a lot of the explosive plays happen in the league. They do a really good job of tying the run game to the pass game. And just when you think they're running outside, then they have a lot of counteraction to run inside. So it's a complete running scheme. It's not just one way that they run the ball, but the fact that they attack the edge, I think, creates more explosive plays, both for the run game and in the pass game, because they try to tie that action together. And Clint does a great job of that.
From what you saw of him when he got to install this offense here last year and the first couple weeks this year, are they about as true to the sort of original concept of that offense as anyone running it right now?
I think since Clint has called plays, I think he's really tried to be specific to his people. I mean, they have a philosophy that they believe in, but I think last year you guys saw how they used Alvin and Taysom and Jawan, and I think really trying to fit his scheme to his people. And I think he's doing the same thing in Seattle. He does a really nice job of that.
And I know Eric McCoy said the thing that gave them the biggest trouble was sort of the six-man wide fronts. Is this offense and its core like one of the main reasons why the six-man fronts have been built up in the league? Is that a way to counter them?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have more people at the point of attack, but certainly on the edge of your defense, it helps against that type of scheme. But again, they've got a lot of scheme to counteract that too. They know that that's a big aspect of how teams try to defend them. You got to be really balanced and diverse in how you attack them because, again, they have a lot of different ways to run the ball, not just wide zone. And they do it out of a lot of different personnel groupings. And they've got two really quality runners, so it makes it tough.
With Carl Granderson getting off to the start that he has, I'm curious, like in past seasons, the last couple of years, he's gotten off to good starts. What's the key to sustaining that throughout the course of the season? And is that something maybe you talk about him with or anything like that?
Number one, health. A healthy Carl Granderson is going to continue to play well. But I think for him, it's just getting more and more confident in his technique, getting more and more confident within the scheme. Hey, this is how we're going to feature you within the scheme so that you can be aggressive. But Carl's wired the right way. He's been very productive for us throughout the first two games, but he's been productive throughout all of training camp, throughout all of springtime, and he just needs to stay after it. He's a very complete player, and he's playing the right way right now.
It's like hustle a big part of this game. I mean, I think he was the one who made the tackle on that 52-yard run for Week 1.
Yeah, he's a rugged, tough, very complete edge player. He's extremely physical in the run game, and then I think both as a run defender and a pass rusher, he's got a relentless motor that's obvious on the silent tape. And anytime you have that relentless motor, you guys have seen it with Cam Jordan. Cam still plays that way, and he still is making more plays than he would because of how hard he plays. And I think that that's certainly probably rubbed off on Carl. But that's a strength of Carl's, is his motor, and that's going to allow him to make even more plays. And the one you mentioned is a great example of that.
Cam and Tamario have barely missed any games due to injury in their career. You mentioned Cam a second ago, but what have you noticed about their preparation or something unique that they do that has allowed them to not only stay healthy but play at such a high level after all these years?
I think it's their commitment to the game. I think when I first got here in the off season, Cam is a busy man, as you know. He's got a lot of things that's going on and that he's responsible for, and he never lets that affect his routine. I mean, I can see him, and I can vividly be in a workout in our, facility, and he's out there running laps as a D lineman. I mean, he's running extra in sweats in the Metairie heat, Louisiana heat, and he's always doing extra. And that's the same way with DeMario, is that they're just so wired to their routine, and I think that you see it by how they play. And their durability, and it's one of the biggest things that every coach, every player is going to talk about: durability, availability. But they really live it, and I think it's a great example for our whole team because they see that, they see why these guys have been able to play so long because it's not just their God-given engineering. It's what they're putting into the game. And I do think that they sacrifice so that they can play like they do.
Mario's obviously been doing this at a high level for a long time, but like even then, like anything surprise you about the way he's performed in the first couple of weeks? Or maybe not surprised, but just like
I think what's cool for a guy like me is that you can still improve as a player, and I think that both of those guys are showing that different aspects to their game that they're continuing to evolve. And I think with more knowledge, with more experience, comes even more evolution in your game. But then you get into a new scheme, and there's some new things that maybe stretch you, challenge you, allow you to play in a little bit different way. And I think that you've seen that with their playmaking so far. And we're going to need for them to continue to do it. But I think it's a great example of our guys because they're always learning. Yes, they're going to do what they've always done and what they do best. But there's these new aspects that I think that they've really bought into that's helped, elevate their games even now.
How do you balance development versus what's best for right now? If those axes don't perfectly align. If there's a young player you see for the future, but maybe today he's not second on the depth chart or something like that.
Yeah, it's an awesome point in team building. I think a lot of it starts in practice, is making sure that they're getting as much practice work as possible so that they're truly prepared to go play. But when you feel like the player is good enough to play, then he needs to play. And I think that's something that we believe in. I think you're seeing it now with our young guys, some of our rookies or second-year players even. But we want to get them out there. Now, how much that is, that's going to depend. But the only way they're going to improve is by going out there and playing. So we're going to try and strike that balance. You got to have a deep team, or you try to have a deep team to play well throughout the whole season. But the best experience comes from the games, and then in practice, try to get them even more preparation so that when they do get out there for the first time, they're ready, and then, hopefully that can continue to create the depth that you need over the course of the season.
With Quincy Riley kind of in mind, what do you guys see from him, to where he can maybe contribute on Sundays?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, he contributed great on special teams, which is a great way to get your feet, in the ground as a young guy. And then his time on defense will come. It's coming. And I think you saw him play in the preseason and the playmaking. And now he's at that point, just like Jonas and Vernon. Danny's in that category too, where their time's coming to play on defense.
similar to that, what's your philosophy behind developing already established guys? Going from good to great, great to elite, those are tough jumps to make.
Yeah.
What's your philosophy behind it?
Yeah, it's shared ownership in that because it's coaching and the players combining forces to try to help elevate. And I think that guys like, that we've talked about, Cam and DeMario, but even, other guys like a Justin Reed, who's accomplished so much in different systems. Well, hey, now here's a new way that we can feature you. Hey, it's kind of similar to what you've done, but here's in our system how, we're going to feature you and really tying it together, showing them the vision for what you have. And, and then again, for these guys, they love that. Okay, here's how you're going to use me, and here's how I can go be effective. So I think those little things, and I think what you try to do as a coach is you're still trying to call plays for people, and players like that, when you're trying to think of them within a play call, and I think that creates even more opportunities for guys as they get older. Because as they get older and they get more experience, they can see why even faster, because they've played these plays, they've played against these teams. They can say, okay, yeah, I got that. And then you can kind of accelerate maybe some of the production.
Spencer was saying that Kellen really likes to emphasize this idea of threes and layups, to use a basketball analogy. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Jeff asked us the other day too of what do you think the equivalent of a mid-range shot is for football? If an opposing offense is doing it, you guys will take it. What's kind of that inefficient thing?
That's right. I think from an offensive perspective, it would be anything that's more first down oriented, designed to get a first down, not designed to get an explosion. So hey, this is a 6 to 12 yard play design. Okay, it's not going to get more than that, right? Versus a play that's designed to get 25, 40 plus, and if that play isn't there, then I'm checking it down to something that could maybe get the same thing. So, I think it's that balance, like, in the basketball world, it's just the risk reward. That's why you're seeing so many threes, is like, it's a big advantage when you can shoot the three because of the spacing that it gives to the rest of your offense. And, threes add up quicker than twos. And so there's just that simplicity to it as well. But I also think there's an efficiency aspect to it for offenses, is that, hey, if something deep's not there, I can come to something secure that's short, that's less risky, where sometimes in that first down-oriented area that I talked to you about, there's a lot of people in the way, And so if there are a lot of people in the way, more risk.
Is, with Kellen's approach to that, like, is that more forward-thinking, modern, or like, hard once? Like,
Yeah.
Is it what,
Well, I think it is. I just think it's just so simplistic. I think it's just a simple way of thinking, and it's the sign of, I think, who Kellen is and what makes him such an effective coach. I think it is how he played, going back playing for his dad. But I think it's how every great offense has functioned since, as far back as you can remember. The best offenses function that way. And so I think his approach, though, is effective for players because it's defined. Guys can play fast, and that's what players want. They want to be able to play fast.
Going back to Clint's system, how would you assess how Sam Darnold has operated so far in these first 2 games?
I would say very well. I mean, they just had a huge road win against an outstanding defense, and I thought he played really solid, had a chance to win in 2 minutes in the first game against a really good defense. And as you know, last year, I mean, he was part of a 14-3 football team, and he threw 35 touchdown passes. So, I've been around a lot of people who have coached Sam, and they all believe in him to the fullest, who he is as a leader, number one as a competitor, but then as a player, he's improved every year. And now he's getting a chance to, take this opportunity in Seattle, and he's off to a good start. It's not easy to win on the road, especially against a good team like the Steelers. I thought he was solid. It was just a solid debut. He looked like he belonged. There were no catastrophic rookie plays. And I thought that he flashed enough on the tape. I thought it was a good tackling performance for him. And that's where he needs to start. And then hopefully as he gets more experience, then you'll see even more playmaking.
From the safety position, oftentimes it gets boiled down to, did they take the ball away, did they not take the ball away in terms of what success is? What else do you look at from the coaching perspective as success from that position?
I think it starts with command. I think being able to tie the entire secondary together from a communication standpoint, number one, but then from a disguise standpoint, that's really important before the ball's even snapped, is how they're running the show, as I like to say. I think that's what makes you a safety. And then once the ball snapped, I think your open field tackling is a real big predictor of you being a quality NFL safety. And I think that we're fortunate here. I think Justin has put on a clinic for the first 2 games. It's one of those underrated things that isn't a stat sheet deal. It's not going to end up on a highlight reel unless you're a coach and you're a junkie of tackling and stuff like that, teach tapes. But I think the way that you tackle in the open field, that limits the explosions in the run game. And then I think your depth in the deep part of the field is how you police the passing game. And then I think when you do get a chance in slot cover to cover someone, man-to-man or your match on a guy, that elevates you to that high classification of complete safety, And I think we've got a really good room, and, I think Justin is really off to a great start so far. I think he's putting, like, premium safety play on tape through 2 games.
I know Clint has like plenty of tape just in all his spots, but the fact that he was here last year, like, did you pull up old practice tape at all to see like plays if it's one from one? Like, I don't know if there's like, defensive meetings how they teach it or whatever. But like,
Well, if that were happening, the same thing's happened in Seattle because they've got some guys that worked with me. So, I think what you try to do is I think what most coaches will tell you is you just focus on the silent tape, what it's telling you. Clint's not the same coach that he was last year. None of us are. We're not the same coaches as we were last week. So things are going to change so much, especially with injuries and roster changes and stuff. So I think what you just trust is what's on the tape so far. And then if you have a history, you're looking at it, but so is he. So what it's going to come down to is who executes the best. And that's always going to be the case on Sundays.
What have you seen of some of those third and longs from last week and just conversions and stuff? Maybe you guys need to clean up there.
Yeah, we need to. That's where we fell short in the game. And just it's shared ownership of really small things. And I think when you watch the tape, just a little off, and at the wrong time. I think, number one, controlling the things that we can control, not fouling, in the first two games. I think that's really critical. That's gotten us off rhythm when we've been in really premium positions. And then from a technique aspect relating to the down and distance, it's just making sure that you're executing and not trying to do too much. And so we've just been a little bit off. We definitely need to improve, and we get a great chance at it on Sunday.
I'm Cam and Demario again. Just in your coaching experience, when it comes down to injuries and not missing games like that, is there any one factor you attribute it to? Is it luck that you don't have that major injury? Is it toughness or genetics?
Oh man, Catherine, I think a little bit of all that. I think the engineering is important. They're engineering. They're off to a good start, but then I think it's that devotion. It's that devotion to the whole experience. It's their body. It's their mind. It's all of it tying in together. And they're the rare examples. It's just not often that you get it. So everyone needs to celebrate it, because any coach would tell you, man, I can't even believe it, that they're still playing like this, and, a lot of times you're going to say, oh, I can kind of see, this or that. And with those guys, just keep going like they've always gone.
Time for one more. Just kind of spark this thing. I'm not the same coach I was last week. Dylan kind of made a similar sentiment yesterday. I guess now you've been in a couple different spots now. When you're calling plays for a team where this is your first time calling plays for this specific group of players, how much change does happen in that first early course of the season? Is that different than when you've been around
Yeah.
for a couple years?
I think that's an awesome point, because I do think there's that aspect of that's real of finding your rhythm together, and you got to find that rhythm and identity. All coaches are going to talk about creating an identity, but that does take some time if you're brand new. And so I think it's just learning each other, getting a feel for each other, and then a lot of it's the personnel, is the consistency of the personnel. If your personnel is always changing and you're getting a ton of attrition, it's hard to stay consistent, and I think if you can continue to coach the same guys, I think that's how you improve faster. So hopefully that's the case. And then, as he mentioned earlier, I think that's why depth's so important, because hopefully you are coaching the same guys. It may not be a starter, but it's a backup who you've coached in, the same way. And hopefully that allows you to improve and accelerate early in the season. All right, guys. Take care, guys.